What is up, guys? Welcome back. It is Mystar here with another freaking live for you guys. Today, I wanted to talk about, first of all, I just thought I heard something. Anyways, first of all, when it comes to my freaking live, I was trying to set it up, but the bish is not letting me jump onto YouTube. Now you can't do YouTube desktop on mobile anymore, so I don't know what the heck is going on with the YouTube app lately, but it's like seeming to have a lot of glitches lately. But I don't even know if that is like actually the case or if, yeah. Anyways, I don't want to go too deep into that shit because, you know, that's weak shit and I don't want to talk about weak shit. But yeah. So, shout out to you if you are watching or wherever you're watching from. Sorry, not if you are watching. Shout out to you, Beech. Shout out. Okay, today on this video, I wanted to talk about limitation, alright? Limitation. You know limitation. If you've ever met limitation, you know that limitation is a bitch. It is a cold ass bitch, okay? It is gonna leave you lonely, it is gonna leave you cold, it is gonna leave you uncertain, it is gonna leave you feeling like you ain't shit, really. And that's why I say limitation is a bitch, because really, when you put yourself in a form of limitation, whether it's big, small, great, not so great, whatever the heck it may be, it's like a mental cage. You're putting yourself into a mental cage. And when I say bitch, this is referring to the feminine space, the betha, going within something, alright? So a bitch is like a powerful feminine space, a feminine space that holds a lot of influence or impact over something. This is why when you see a bitch or you see someone and they may impact you negatively or in some way, shape or form, and you have no choice but to think to yourself, oh, that person's a bitch, whether they're a guy or a girl, because they're able to impact, they're able to have a large influence emotionally on you or mentally in general. So they're able to impact or influence your internal space, right? So this is why I say the bitch is like a powerful feminine energy, because when you know someone can't influence you or impact you unless they have some kind of power behind what they're influencing you or impacting you with, right? So takes it all back to that energy. And when it talks about limitation, this is a bitch that's going to keep you locked in a cage. This is a bitch that's going to keep you like in states of feeling like not good enough. It's gonna keep you blinded, you know, because you're not going to be able to see past certain bars, certain walls that you're surrounded by, when it comes to you not being able to see the true situation of what's going on in your reality, because you're limiting your perspective, you're limiting the way you're seeing your reality, you're limiting your ability to go about something, or you're limiting whatever it may be. You know, expectation is a form of limitation. So when you limit yourself with expectation, bitch, what do you think is going to happen? You know, you're going to be blinded by everything except for what you're expecting. So, you know, and this is where a lot of people go wrong when it comes to their spirituality, and they find themselves doubting, or they find themselves not being able to kind of get a grip on the more spiritual aspect or the more intangible aspect of themselves. It's because you are looking at it from a form of expectation, right? You're putting yourself into a mental cage, a limitation, which is like not allowing you to see like the possibilities of what could be or what is, you know, because you're expecting things to come in this way, you're expecting things to come in that way. This is why a lot of people like struggle with like accepting their current situation, because they have an expectation that their situation is going to turn out a certain way, or that if they just do this and then they just do that, then maybe their situation might turn out like this. But that's creating more mental cages for yourself, because then if something was to turn out the complete opposite to how you expected, you're going to instantly think that things are not going your way, when in actuality things very much may be going your way way more than if things had gone the way you expected. You may be thinking that if it goes by your expectations, then that equals things going in a positive direction or things benefiting you. But our spirits are wise. Our spirits are knowledgeable beyond our physical, our mental capabilities. Our physical body is quite young. As we already know, our mental body is older, but it is still not intelligent or wise like how the spirit knows. The spirit knows things beyond our mental concepts, beyond our mental forms, that when you limit yourself into a mental form, then you're not able to see the multitudes of mental forms, the multitudes of ideas, the multitudes of feelings that you can utilize to your advantage, because you're stuck into one mental form, you're stuck into one space, one idea, one concept, one cage, one bitch, one limitation, whatever the heck you want to call it, bish. Whatever you want to call it, it is a limitation, or it is a cage. That song just came to my head, but shout out to Dollar Department. I think it's called... anyways, but I can't remember the name right now, but it goes, I think you don't want to call it, don't know what to call it. And then I can't remember the rest at the moment, but yeah, you get the idea. Don't know what to call it, love. Don't know what to call it, because at the end of the day, your spirit does not get limited by the certain mental concept or the certain mental forms that you are calling it, right? Your spirit just knows beyond these mental forms, beyond these concepts, how to utilize whatever you are trying to call, And in actuality, sometimes you really need to hang up the phone. You need to put down the phone. You keep calling up one mental form. You keep calling up one limitation, one expectation. Sometimes it's like the one thing that you didn't try is the one thing that is going to help you. And a lot of the times, for a lot of people in the world, that's putting down the phone. They need to stop calling that mental form. You need to stop calling that concept. You need to stop jumping into that state of mind, because that's locking you in some kind of hell-like prison that's not allowing you to be free. Because let's say, as an example, let's bring it down to like 3D, because I know I'm speaking quite like esoteric right now, and a lot of people might hear this and they'll be like, what the heck's this guy on about? Like, yeah, I sort of get where you're coming from, but at the same time I'm finding it hard to put it into context. So let me put it into context for you if you're struggling. All right, let's say you are waiting for a message or a sign or a symbol, and you're like asking the universe, show me a sign or a symbol. I want to know this. I want to know this. Like, this is just a vague example, but like, let's say, like, because I do tarot, so this is the easiest way for me to use this example. So like, let's say you're pulling tarot cards. You want a sign or a symbol on whether or not something you're about to do is the right situation for you to jump into. Is it the right energy, right? Is it the right concept, right? This is a very small basic example, but it'll give you a grasp. Sorry guys, pardon me. So when you pull out that card, right? If you're a tarot reader, you already know this concept. When you pull out that card, if you have an expectation or a concept or a way of thinking in your mind that you're still not able to kind of separate from, even if, like, and as well, you may be thinking this concept, but also you can still be separate while you're thinking or paying attention to this certain concept. So not to say that if you have that on your mind, but if you're not able to separate from that expectation in your mind of how it should be, or how you want the message to flow, or how you want to perceive what's going on when it comes out, when the card comes out, then you're not going to be able to see the multitudes of ways that the message could come, because you're not leaving your mind, you're not leaving your canopy open. You're limiting it, and you're placing like firmaments and walls. Like, if you imagine your mind is like a building, right? And then every thought and feeling that you get is like a wall or a floor. Like, if the walls was like like thoughts, and then the floors was like feelings, right? You're constantly adding thoughts and feelings and expectations into one concept, and now you've just put yourself into a whole bunch of walls and floors. So you got a floor on the roof, you got a floor on the floor, and you got walls all around you. So what are you in? You're just boxing yourself in. You're not actually allowing your mind, your mentality to be free and open to the actual message that can come through. And when you're free and open, that's the best way that the message can come through. Otherwise, you're just going to be limiting yourself to one certain concept, one certain way of learning. And this is why some people may struggle and not realize that why they're not progressing in their tarot, or why they're not able to read themselves. You're still getting lost, and this may not be all the end all be all for everyone, but you're still getting lost in some way, shape or form into a concept, into a mentality, into an expectation. Separate from those expectations, separate from those mentalities, and then you'll be able to see it from a greater perspective, because you're now outside looking in. Like look through the looking glass, if you look through the window kind of shit, instead of being in the window and now you're looking out the window, all you can see is first the glass, you know what I mean? So there's layers to shit that you're looking through. You've got filters now, you know what I mean? That's really what thoughts and feelings act as. So the less filters, the less layers that you have in your mind, the more open and free you can be to be able to allow like real wisdom and real messages and real awareness of your situation to pour into your mind, because you're now leaving your mind open to maintain that awareness, to maintain that concept and the mentality that you're trying to do. So when it comes to those, like that kind of situation, you can take it in many different forms. It's not just tarot that expectation will do that to you. It's any concept, any mentality that you get lost into, or you're constantly holding on to, and you're not able to let go and allow it to fly free into the universe, which is when it's able to actually come back around and impact or influence your life, rather than you constantly holding on to it. And now it's going to take longer for it to come around. It still will come around. Everything always comes back around. But it's just going to take a lot more longer. And it may come like in a year, a few months, or whatever the case may be. However much energy you put into it, it's going to take longer and longer. So when you take that to many different concepts, many different situations, you can see that expectation is really going to create a lot of blockages in your life. And limitation and concepts and thoughts and feelings that you hold on to are actually going to maintain certain blockages that you're trying to break free of. So you'll constantly think to yourself, I need to constantly think or expect or be open to this happening in my life, but without realizing that maybe that might not happen in the exact way that you had wanted it to. And if you allow yourself to hold on too heavy to that thought, then you'll go down with that thought. As soon as that thought doesn't get realized, let's say you want a certain job, you want a certain job, and if you don't get this job, you feel like you're a failure, or you feel like you're not good enough. So you're basing some kind of self-worth concept, and that's even adding on to this concept. That's even like a deeper mental cage that you're putting yourself into, right? And first of all as well, like anybody who may be looking at me like I'm somehow like thinking that I'm higher than now or anything, the reason why I can even talk about this shit is because I've been through this concept many, many, many times over for me to know the ins and the outs. What's it called? So when you're in that mental cage, and then you're like, now you don't get the job, right? Now you're sitting there getting down and depressed because you didn't get a certain outcome. You didn't get that job. Your expectation wasn't reached. So now you're looking at yourselves and you're looking like down on yourself as though you did something wrong. When in actuality, if you are on the right path and you're on the right mentality in the first place, let's say you're the type of person, you actually strive for a purpose. You actually strive to grow and expand and learn more, right? Then I would argue that job that job really lost you at the end of the day. And a lot of people might say, oh, well, you know, that's just speculation, or you're just making up stuff to make yourself feel better or cope, which arguably, yeah, it is a bit of a coping mechanism. But also at the same time, it's like a double-edged thing. So when you look at it from that perspective, you'll be able to see that actually that job probably wouldn't have benefited you further down the line anyway, had you have gotten that job. And this is why I talk about your spirit as wise. Your spirit knows beyond the mind that you're in, beyond the expectation and the thoughts and the feelings that you're in. Your spirit knows when something is actually beneficial for you or when something is non-beneficial for you. You know, this is why no matter what area or what concept of life that you're on, there's some degree of your ability to be able to maintain and to be able to survive and to be able to keep pushing and keep getting up. You know, this is like a sense of determination that goes beyond your mind. You know, sometimes you don't even have to think, and your spirit, your self, like your internal self, just pushes you and wills you up. You know what I mean? Sometimes you might not even have energy or anything left, and you feel completely sapped and drained of life, but your spirit is still able to will yourself out even beyond the mind, because your spirit knows that the mind is just a limitation. It's just a form. It's just a body that's lighter than our physical body. Your physical body is just a more condensed form of your mind. So the spirit knows this, and this is why, you know, certain concepts, certain thoughts, certain situations, certain expectations, you may feel like, oh no, this is happening against me, or this is happening against my favor. But in actuality, your spirit is working towards a better or greater or better circumstance for you. But if you keep creating thoughts and feelings like, oh no, this is worse, I'm worse off for this, I'm not going to succeed, and blah blah blah, what do you think you're going to manifest and create? So you're creating against what your spirit's trying to push you towards. And this is where I say as well, like, the expectation is going to block you and blind you from the actual message that your life is trying to show you. Sorry guys, my little brother just keeps looking at me from over there. That's why I keep looking over, like, if you can see me.
It's like he's listening to every word.
Yeah, he's like, it's like
Talking back when you say certain things.
it's like he's listening to the video or something. So yeah, if you guys see my eyes darting to the side, now you know why. It's not because like there's something weird happening in the background or anything, like, or like I'm worried, like, because some people might see that little side eye and they're like, oh, is he okay? Should I call the cops? No. But yeah, so that's why I say, like, it's a blinding thing where because now you're not your expectation is not met, and now you're holding on to it. The only thing you're able to focus on is the fact that your expectation is not met, instead of being able to actually look around, take a spiritual look around or a mental look around and really see, yeah, this might have gone wrong and not in my favor, but if I look at the overall circumstance of what's going on, it actually is going more in my favor than I thought it would initially, you know? And so that's what I talk about when I'm saying you're blinding yourself by getting lost into a limitation or an expectation of how the circumstance or situation should play out. Because now you're focusing on one thing when you could be focusing on many things if you just separated from that expectation. And that's how you can be more lighter as a spirit and rise above your mentalities, rise above your thoughts and feelings, rise above it all, bitch. And once you do, then you'll actually be able to see things from a lighter perspective, see things as non-impactful. And that's why I say at the start, limitation is a bitch, you know, because limitation will impact you in a lot of ways that you don't necessarily want to be impacted in. And she'll keep you caged up and locked up for as long as she needs to in order for you to learn your lesson, right? But me as a spiritual, being spiritual, or no, having common sense, because I don't necessarily like to talk about the concept of spirituality as though it's some kind of thing that is separate from us, right? It's really just common sense. It's life. And if you're able to have common sense and observe life for what it is, then you're that's basically what people's talking about as being spiritual. But a lot of people don't realize that, and that maybe that's a little bit of a too early thing to say in terms of the times that we're in right now. But you know, regardless, it's a fact. And actually, you know what, I would argue maybe there's some missing aspects to that fact, but for the most part that is pretty factual based on what I just said. So yeah, when it comes to people like me who's more spiritual, really just have more common sense and being able to observe and be aware of certain things that's going on around in the mental and the physical, which really it starts in the mental. Like, I didn't build no awareness by being aware of everything in my physical reality. In fact, a lot of shit in my physical reality I stopped being aware of in order for myself to gain this sort of awareness, because my awareness was being sucked and drained and pulled by many different things. I had to reel it in, you know, and that's what people say when they say bring your or call your power back or bring your power back. You're just limiting your awareness to certain things that you know are actually benefiting you and feeding your soul and feeding your spirit and feeding your body in a beneficial way, rather than draining your body, you know, because that's the only two things that can play out when it comes to you paying attention and being aware of something. It's either going to feed you or it's going to drain you, you know what I mean? And a lot of the times it'll do both. But you know, you can also tell which one is a greater or more percentage scale of the situation, you know. So some situations, yeah, they may drain you a slight bit, but they also may feed you way more than they actually drain you, you know. Like, possibly watching my videos is actually going to do more of something that's going to feed your spirit and feed your mind, rather than to take away from your spirit and take away from your mind. But at the same time, you're still putting your awareness, you're still feeding awareness towards me right now as you're watching this video. So that's a form of draining, you know what I mean? So we're all just kind of like externalizing, internalizing. And when you externalize, that's like a form of feeding, but you're draining yourself and feeding others. And when you internalize, you're draining, that's a form of draining, but you're someone else is feeding. You know what I mean? Or something else is feeding. So when you look at it from that aspect, then you see that a lot of the things in our reality is actually really draining. And the more you limit yourself from these certain things that drain you, from these certain things that you know are not benefiting you or feeding you as much or more than they're actually draining you, then this is how you'll kind of be able to pull your energy back, pull your power back, slowly but surely. And then you'll be able to get yourself out of that form of limitation, depending, you know, how well you're able to do this, because now you're feeding your awareness into more free concepts, more open concepts, less limiting concepts, less bitch-like and cage-like and prison-like concepts, which, you know, I don't associate bitch with cage. Bitch and cage is two different things, but just as an example of what I was talking about before, that's what I was using bitch for. But cage and bitch are not the same thing. A cage is like a form of a feminine space, a form of a bitch, right? But it's not actually the form of bitch. You know what I mean? Like, it's not actually that thing. Like, a cage is not a bitch. But a bitch can be a cage, you know? So, but a beautiful bitch, you know, that can free you more than anything. A beautiful bitch, a bitch that helps you to fly, a powerful bitch that's able to make you feel free. That's going to obviously benefit you in the long run, rather than keep you encaged and locked up. That bitch is going to help you. That emotion is going to help you. That concept, that mentality is going to help you to grow lots and lots of families, lots of kids, lots of husbands and wives and all kinds of freaking colonies and populations for your mentality to be able to grow and flourish and create new seeds and new kingdoms within your own mental space that will actually help you to be more free and more lighter, you know, and get to more of a position that you want to be, where you're actually experiencing things that you want to experience. But at the end of the day as well, always remember, you won't get what you want or need, you will only get what you deserve. Because when you're in a state of want or need, you're constantly pushing out and vibing out that energy. You're pushing out and vibing out that want, that need. And as soon as you realize that actually you'll get what you deserve, and you're able to feel like you deserve something, that's when you'll actually be able to manifest that a lot simpler, a lot easier, because you deserved it. You didn't sit there and crave, or sit there and desire and want and constantly pine for it and constantly think, oh, I need this, I want this, because that's just going to breed more wants, more needs, more wants and more needs. But you actually took the time to use your own internal alchemy, your own magic, your own thoughts and feelings. That is what your magic is, you know, your ability to put a thought and a feeling together and feel however you want to feel. Now you're able to use your own magic and realize, no, I deserve this. I don't want this. I don't need this. I deserve this. So regardless of if I have it or if I don't have it right now at this point in time, I know that I deserve it, so that one day it's going to come to me regardless, whether it's in a week, a year, whatever it may be. I deserve this, so it's going to come. It's going to happen. Like, I know that I deserve to be able to teach, to be able to share some kind of knowledge or wisdom, to be able to carry out my purpose, you know, whatever that may be, which really my purpose is one of those purposes that I like to constantly grow, add on to, and keep expanding and growing, because again, like, I don't want to limit myself, and limitation is a bitch. Like, so coming full circle, I keep coming full circle with this video, and this is what's confirmation for me too, you know, because I'm starting to see my own improvements. I'm starting to see my own growth in my own videos, and my ability to speak, my ability to share and teach certain wisdoms and knowledges that I go through and learn. So yeah, don't get lost in limitation, guys. That limitation is going to keep you in a mental cage. And the more you get lost into that, you'll only be able to see those 4 bars, those 4 walls that you're constantly trapped inside of, right? And you always want to be on the outside looking in. You don't want to be on a perspective, on a situation where you're trapped inside of something, or you're stuck inside of something looking out. You always want to be in a situation of outside looking in whatever way you can. And when you're in that situation, when you're in that perspective, then you're able to not be influenced, not be impacted by the concepts and the limitations that you're in at that current point in time, because you're technically not even in it. You've created something that's within, but it's without. So now you're in that concept, but you're looking at it from the outside in, but while still being within. So you're creating some kind of like super mentality that's able to like kind of override anything that you're in, no matter what time it is, no matter what mentality or what thought or what feeling it is. You're able to be on the outside looking in at all instances. And the more and more you put energy and time into that, the more and more you'll be able to manifest and bring that mentality into a more condensed form for you to be able to actually experience that in the form of a person, place, or thing or situation in your life. And then the more you start to see those situations, the more that's your confirmation. You're on the right track. You're manifesting that lighter ability, that lighter concept, that lighter mental form that's going to help take you out of whatever heavy, shitty limitation that you keep yourself trapped in. Because limitation is a bitch, right? And it is a mental cage, and it is going to keep you locked up as long as you allow it to, all right? And the moment you stop allowing that thing to keep you locked up, the moment you stop putting yourself in that mental cage and realize that you are the creator, you're not your creation, you are not your thoughts and feelings, you're the one that's willing and creating thoughts and feelings. And so in actuality, you know, the only person that can save you, the only person that can help you and pull you out of your own limitation is you. So why the fuck are you looking around, waiting for an external situation, waiting for an external person, waiting for an external job, whatever it may be, to come save you from your internal space? You're supposed to deal with your internal shit now, for you, bish. I don't mean to be rude, but it's the Scorpio sun coming out a little bit. But yeah, for you, you know, get out of your mental shit. That's your shit that you're in. Ain't nobody else living your mind, bish. So, you know, like, how do you expect anything in the external to even be able to help you with your mind. Like, bruh, I don't know why I just hit myself. It didn't actually hurt, so it was all good. But to be able to help you in your freaking mind, like, that makes no sense. And if you're spiritually, wise or spiritually inclined, you already know what I'm talking about. If you're not spiritually inclined, you may just think that that's kind of conflating, which I so see what you mean, but you can't deny it. The points I make in this video, there's correlation, there's connection to the certain situations, to the certain things that you go through. So whether or not you want to see that as truth, the last thing I said, or whether you just want to see it as bogus, conflating, the shit I be saying is real, right? So you can't deny it. Real is real, and real recognizes real, bitch. So I'll see you out there in that real world, the real spiritual world, girl, the common sense world. And yeah, like this little bird, this little eagle, gotta rise above your ego, rise above that limitation, bitch. So eagle is a representation of an ego, right? So when you have a ego that you're constantly stuck in, that's a form of a limitation as well. That's like the masculine form of limitation. That's like limitations, man. Like she got limitation and you got ego, and they just like they love to like get in cahoots with each other. So limitation is like, the one that keeps you at home, keeps you limited, keeps you from seeing certain things, kind of keeps you sheltered. It's like that shade, that roof over your head, but like the roof that blocks everything that actually benefits you out of your head. And then ego is like the man. Ego is like that man of the house that tries to keep you, from going out, from venturing out further into different areas of your house that you may want to go in, like may not let you go into certain rooms now, so like, what's it called? It's kind of like a back and front thing there, like limitation. She doesn't want you to go out, because she's more like focused on internal, like keeping you in, keeping you locked in. But whereas like ego doesn't want you to go within, because he's more focused on like going, flowing. So he doesn't want you to go and flow in certain directions, in certain areas of your house, of your mind state. So now when you're freaking lost into both of those, that's like a double entendre. I don't even know if that's the right word to use, but you're not able to, once you're lost into both of those, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get out of a certain mental cage, because not only do you have to push past layers of ego, which is a form of limitation, but it's really just a more masculine aspect of limitation, because the ego is like a character, it's like a external image or character that you want to portray for yourself, or you want to constantly stay within. Limitation is just a concept, it's just a kind of field or a space that you're just riding or maintaining, because you don't want to go venture out and see other Asians, really, is what you're trying to go out and look for. You're trying to look for other Asians, which is like a nation, which is a Native American word. Shout out to Dollar to Pilot Man. Or the spiritual shit, if you want to check it out, it's Native American hobbyism. Dollar to Pilot Man talks about it all the time on his channel. It's actually real concept of where spirituality and stuff comes from, real masonry. Dollar to Pilot Man talks all about that. So if you actually want to learn about real masonry, real spirituality, not that fake shit that they'd be kicking online, because everyone thinks that they know what they're talking about, when really they're just following a Masonic template that they try to write out for you, which is another form of limitation and ego love. So yeah, when it comes to those two energies, you'll be able to go and allowing yourself to go out and explore other Asians, because you're only limited to one limitation, and now you're just stuck in that one Asian, that one nation of thoughts and feelings, that one Asian that is only wanting you to see how things are in that action. It doesn't want you to go see what the other action looks like, because it might worry that you're not going to come back to limitation, because you won't. I'm here to tell you, love, you won't. Once you actually see how free your mentality can be. Love that rhyme. I love how sometimes I naturally just rhyme without trying. Actually, a lot of the time I'll be doing that. But yeah, once you're able to see how free you can be without limitation over thee, then you'll actually be able to realize, oh my gosh, like, what the fuck have I been doing this whole time? Like, I've been limiting myself in a mental concept, and that is literally what it means to be in prison. That is literally what it means to be in a cage. And that's why a lot of y'all feel like you need to escape out of your certain situations, because you're mentally limiting yourself first. So you need to escape out of your internal, and then you can escape out of your internal. This is why I always talk about on my channel, everything is internal then external. So the more you're trying to focus on the external, trying to change your life through the external, the more you're missing the point. You're missing the point, and that you need to focus on your internal, escape your internal, escape that limitation, escape that ego, escape that emotion, escape that feeling. So the more you start to feel like that escape energy, you need to escape something and heal love. And this, you know, obviously relevant to me in order for me to be even talking about this, because I've made a few videos on this kind of escaping energy. But, you know, that's because I know that space pretty well. You know, I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I know that space pretty well because I've been in a lot of situations that I wanted to escape. I've been in a lot of mentalities that I wanted to escape and be free of. And yeah, just here to tell you that you can do it too. And as a way for me to exit this out of my view. So now I don't have to see it from me to you. You know, I don't want to be looking at that shit in my reality. I don't want to be constantly aware of the limitations. I'm trying to free myself out of limitations. So for me, this is also a way for me to kind of excrete or externalize, X out whatever the heck I'm talking about, in order for me to actually feel like I've escaped. You know, some people say escape because they don't know how to pronounce that word, but at the end of the day, you know, you still know what they're saying, and at the end of the day, it kind of ties in to what I was just saying. Because you exit, right? This is why people get confused and they say escape, because they know the X concept, the X word, is talking about exiting something, and escaping is too. So, you know, this is why I say, your spirit is wise, bitch. Don't ever freaking doubt that shit. Like, people be thinking that shit is dumb, or like shit is stupid, but sometimes like some dumb things that people do is actually more intelligent than half the shit people be doing out here. And that's I think a good place to end the video, alright? I think so. So I hope you guys enjoy your day, time, moment, wherever you are, okay? Peace. And don't get lost into limitation.